In the west of Africa stood Ghana, tall with riches and prosperity. In the heart of Ghana was a village called Kaful. Kaful was a village that was rich in raw materials, timber, cocoa, and bauxite. But one thing that made the village of Kaful stand out from other villages was the mystical powers it held. The river that held the mystical powers could heal the sick, provide riches, prosperity, and even children. Powers the river held was the ability to revive the dead, which was the secret no one said out loud in the village of Kaful. In the home of the village river custodian lived a maiden called Shola. Shola was the eyes of the river. She was beautiful, elegant, and didn't do what the other girls did in the village. Her father was the king of Kaful, and the mother the queen mother of Kaful, and her grandmother was the custodian and guardian of the river. The village of Kaful was the head trade center for all villages. Farmers produced all the essential raw materials for outsiders to come by and also ship to other countries outside of Ghana. Attention-seeking young adult. Her entire 20 years lived and spent on this earth was spent with her grandmother, performing rituals to the gods of the river. Her life was as perfect as a lady and princess of Kaful. One sunny morning, whilst they were walking back from home, Shola and her grandmother met one buyer who bought supplies from Kaful. He pointed at Shola in recognition and shouted on top of his voice, Look at that girl, she looks so much like Moana." Shola, oblivious to what the man's rant was about, said to her grandmother, whom she called Nana, "These traders are strange and rude. How can you point at someone?" The trader brought out his phone and took some short videos of Shola and pictures, waiting to get out of this place and post on the internet. The village was far, far from civilization. No one had a phone in Kaful. This was the genesis of it all. Shola was going to be an internet sensation. The short video of Shola accumulated a viewership of 9.5 million. The man realized instead of buying raw materials to sell, he found another raw material in Kaful. Shola was the splitting image of our favorite Polynesian princess. The face of Shola was all over the TV channels, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and other social media platforms. Everyone wanted to know who this woman was. Hollywood directors were in this trader's DMs and comments. His phone rang from morning till evening. What was he going to do? The trader, whose name was Kofi, decided to kidnap Shola. She was the princess of Kaful. Therefore, there was no way her father, King Taki, was going to allow his only daughter to be taken to the city willfully. Kofi devised a plan to kidnap Shola and to bring her to the city. He was going to make money off of her. He was already in a good mood. Kofi paid 3 men who knew the ins and the outs of the town of Kaful to kidnap Shola. He sat comfortably in his car waiting for the men he had paid. Just like that, the chloroform Shola was put into his car. He sped off as soon as the doors of his car was closed. An evil smile appeared on his face throughout the journey to Accra as he looked at the chloroform Shola at the back of his car. Awoke to a surrounding that was unfamiliar to her, squinting her eyes to adjust to the room. Hello, Shola. Do you remember me? Kofi was in a good spirit. He had accomplished what he wanted to do. Shola stared at his unfamiliar face. Where am I and what do you want with me? Shola backed away into the corner, scared of the stranger. I am Kofi Nkun, a trader who trades in your village. Now you are in the city of Accra. You can look through the window. I am not here to harm you in any way if you do as I say. Kofi sneered. Kofi knew he had to instill fear in her to get her to succumb to him. He then continued, there are people who want to know you. Others also want you for endorsement deals, and this is the deal with you and I. If you do all these things that I ask of you, I will take you back to your village, Kaful, and back to your family. Shola, naive to how cruel the outside world was, reluctantly agreed. Shola was instantly a hit in Accra. Kofi, who was her manager, started profiting off her. She was in major brand deals, endorsements. Every brand wanted her, and every product wanted her face on them. She was a natural in front of the camera as she shot scenes for the movie The Real Life Moana. Shola gradually began to forget her home and her life in Kaful. The life in the city was so good and it caught up to her. The extravagant life, living, posh cars and aesthetic penthouse had her forgetting her family back in Kaful. The last memory of home faded to the background. The village of Kaful began to crumble. After the disappearance of the princess, the river began to lose its powers. It said that the queen mother was barren. For years, she couldn't bear a child or an heir to the throne. She was later gifted the child by the river. The child, who was Shola, was the soul of the river. She was meant to live in Kaful forever. She was the strength of the river, the source of its powers. All attempts of Kentucky to find his daughter was null and void. She was a ghost. Nana, Kane's mother and also custodian of the river, said to her son, if we do not find Shola by the next full moon, the river will lose all its powers totally. The king didn't care about the river. His only daughter needed to be found. Still in the nightlife of the city, Shola's face was on billboards, food, wine, children's water bottles and other items. One night, Shola, deep in her sleep, dreamt of her grandmother calling her. She looked weak, pale and sick. In her dreams, she said, Shola, the Diamond River is calling you to come drink from it. Shola was awoken from her dream as Nana stretched forth her arms for her to come into her embrace. Sleep flee from her. How could she be so selfish and greedy? She was supposed to return home after a few endorsements. That was her initial agreement with Kofi. She had to go back home tonight, she thought. In the wee hours of the morning, she packed up her belongings and was about to leave, but realized her door was shut and locked from behind. No amount of pushing and kicking made the door open. Realization hit her hard. Kofi was never going to allow her leave his side. He was determined to keep her for his selfish needs. Shola devised a plan to embarrass Kofi in front of the whole world. Standing on the podium with thousands of people, men, women, old, young, and children all cheering on her. She was the role model for the youth and children. Parents loved and adored her. Shola began her speech. I am not your Moana. I am not a Disney princess. I am not the Polynesian fictional character. My name is Shola from the village of Kaful. I am a human being. I have feelings. I was kidnapped and brought here by this man here, she said, pointing to Kofi. The police, who was on the podium for safety reasons, tagged Kofi to the ground as he struggled with them. Shola continued, I was brought here against my will. Now, I will be going back home to my parents and my people. I might be back or not, but all I want you all to know is I love all my fans and supporters, she said, ending her speech. Applause erupted from the crowd. The days that followed were talks of how brave Shola is, how her story made people feel, and how she gained 10 times the fans she already had. Kofi was released on bail without Shola's knowledge. She thought she was finally free as she headed home in her Range Rover, happy to reunite with her family and people of Kaful. Kofi wasn't going down without a fight, he said to himself as he sat in his car and headed in the direction of the village of Kaful. Shola, I will make you pay for the humiliation. I made you who you are, and this is how you pay me back, making me a laughing stock in the city. I will break the wings you have grown, he whispered to himself as he drove to Kaful. Shola was welcomed with great joy, and the people surrounded her, screaming, dancing, and jubilating at the return of their princess. The gods has answered our prayers, Nana said, hugging her granddaughter. The king and queen mother threw a feast, inviting the whole village. That night, their beloved had returned. Shola narrated her whole story to the village as they sat around a huge table. During her narration, shots were fired and Shola fell to the ground in a pool of blood. Hellish scream echoed through the evening silence. The palace guards shot arrows through the silent sky at night, another location where the shots came from. Later, Kofi was found dead in the woods with 3 arrows piercing through his chest and neck. Shola was taken to the mystical river in a pool of blood and was dipped into the river 3 times. The magic river glowed as Shola regained consciousness and coughed out water. The whole village jubilated as the resurrection of their princess Shola. Shola returned back to the city and brought media coverage to her village and the people, showcasing her rich culture and heritage of Kaful. One thing no one talked about was the magical river. That was a secret no one spoke of.